You're doing well with your HTML coding. You can put some elements on a page, you can center those elements, have some nice typography, but your page is still boring. And you know why it's boring? Because you have a boring background, single color. My name is Peter from Tilret Web Design, and today I'm going to teach you about gradients. There are three types: linear gradients, radial gradients, and conic gradients. And there are some amazing things you can do with these to spice up your website. So with that introduction, let's get started. We'll be using the CodePen app again today at codepen.io. So in our HTML panel, we'll just put a single div. We're going to have a circle, we'll have a square with a border in the middle of the screen in which we will fill with our different gradients that I'm showing today. So it'll just be a 250 pixel by 250 pixel square. And there it is. We will begin with our linear gradient, which is probably the most commonly used. By default, the colors go from the top to the bottom of your element that you're filling in. So here's an example. We'll put a linear gradient from blue to green. You see the blue on the top and the green to the bottom. You can also change the direction of this gradient by simply typing in, for instance, to right, and this will switch your blue to the left and your green to the right. You can also likewise change the angle. So here we'll type in 45 degrees, and you see the direction of the gradient change. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. The next thing I want to show here is that you can add color stops. So if you include where you want that color to stop and end, you can have some cool patterns. So here I'll have red going for the first bottom, 0 to 50%. Then I pick up with the yellow color from 50% to 100, and you can get a half and half type screen like this. Same trick as before. You can change the direction of that to be either left to right or 45-degree angle. So you can do a number of different design tricks with this. It's a lot of fun to do. But let me follow up on that by showing you a variation of this. It's called the repeating linear gradient. So in this case, we'll get rid of our yellow and red. We'll put some black and orange in there and just set whichever pixels you want. Our black will be 30 pixels wide. Our orange will go 30 to 60 pixels. And it will repeat, thus leaving this Charlie Brown type pattern here. Again, you can change the direction of it, the angle and the direction, so on. And you can also add additional colors. So let's add another yellow line. And so any combination, any types of design you can do with these repeating linear gradients. Moving on to our next type is the radial gradient. So let's get rid of our linear gradient and show you what that looks like. You've probably seen this before. It kind of looks like a spotlight or some halo type effect on the page. So here it is. In this case, we'll just put red and purple. We can add as many colors as we want, but it starts from the center going outwards. Likewise with our linear, we can add color stops. So here we'll just put our red from 0 to 20 pixels, our purple from 20 to 50, and then the yellow. And you can get these hard delineations, kind of like a bullseye pattern we can do on those. And I want to mention that these radial gradients don't always have to be centered in the middle of your element. So let me just show you an example of that. Let's put a green and yellow in here. We call it a circle, and we can place it wherever we want. So here we have circle at top left, and we get this pattern. Also, you can become decorative with these. You can add a couple of the gradients, so I'll just copy and paste that. Put one on the bottom right, but it doesn't show up because I have to turn one of these transparent. And as soon as I do that, we get the pattern like this, and you can do any number of combinations of things. And as with the repeating linear gradient, we have a repeating radial gradient. So we just put in a couple of colors. All you have to do is designate how far out, and then it will repeat that pattern. So let's go purple 0 to 40 pixels, blue 40 pixels to 75 pixels, and then violet 75 pixels to 95 pixels. And then your repeating radial gradient will fill in the rest. And then we can adjust any of these sizes and colors and so forth, and any number of combinations of these. And the same things I just showed, you can have the center elsewhere. So we'll put a circle at top left, and you have something like this. Now let's move on to this third type of gradient, which is the conic gradient. And I see this used a lot less than the other two, but it is a lot of fun. So here's an example of that. Just put conic gradient, put a few colors in, and there's your result. Now why do they call it conic? Let's make it round and see. And there's your answer. Looks just like a cone. So what's going on here is, opposed to the radial gradient, which starts from the center going outward, the conic gradient goes around in a circle, kind of like those color pickers that you see all the time. And there are some interesting things that you can do. So like our linear gradient and our radial gradient, the conic gradient can use color stops. So here, let me add a few colors with different stops. You'll see some green, red, yellow, and your result is something that looks like a pie chart. Pretty cool, huh? And like the radial gradient, the conic gradient doesn't need to be centered at the middle of your element. You can use phrases such as at top left, at bottom right, and so forth to get parts of the conic gradient to make these distinct patterns or backgrounds that you would like to use for whatever reasons. And another point I wanted to make while we're at this is that the conic gradient, if you just give it different colors, it's going to have a hard stop like this, based at what's called the 0 degree mark or 0 radians. And this can also be adjusted. You can, using the from. So here we have from 45 degrees, from 90 degrees. So you can adjust where that conic gradient color gradient starts. And finally, like the linear and the radial gradients, we have a repeating conic gradient. So again, we'll put different colors. In this case, I'll show them with color stops. We'll use red, blue, green. And you can see a crazy pattern like this. Pretty wild. Any number of combinations, any number of colors, whatever you want, you can do it with these conic gradients, radial gradients, and linear gradients. And before leaving you, I just wanted to share you some examples of some I put together on CodePen prior to making this video. As you can see, lots of different combinations, lots of different colors, lots of fun. So the next time you make a website, I don't want to see plain backgrounds. Try one of these gradients. You'll thank me for it. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.